good morning. I'm Rachayata, and on behalf of Logistics Insider, I'm here with another episode of Shipper Speak, where we talk to end users of the supply chain industry. Today's session is powered by Cargo FL, a new age tech logistics company. The fierce competition in the FMCG sector has placed the brand owners on a war footing. It's virtually compelled them to enter to fray to stay atop. Today's market is not just about customization and tailor-made products, nor is it about reaching out to customers. Rather, it is more about innovation, faster deliveries, cost effectiveness, timeliness alongside quality, utility, and unmatched features. The emergence of globalization and expansionist ambitions across globalized markets have changed the dynamics, and it has indeed led consumer good companies go into overdrive. All of it has introduced more complication and sophistication in the supply chain system, which at times has certain ramifications like unprecedented levels of inventory, lack of working capital for innovation, and lower profits which were previously unimagined. And on top of it, add to all the mix the COVID situation and the geopolitical conditions. So, continuing this conversation forward, let me introduce you to our guest today, Mr. Ashish Bansal, Vice President, Customer Service and Logistics, Colgate Palmolive. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
He is a supply chain expert with proven leadership capabilities and the ability to deliver consistent and excellent business results. His expertise covers wide areas of supply chain and the ability to deliver enhanced value from end-to-end value chain. The responsibilities in his current role includes leading customer service, logistics and planning for India and South Asia. So Ashish, without further ado, let's just start with the interview.
Sure. Thank you for those nice words, Racheta, and looking forward.
Great. So, my first question to you is considering the global inflation, how should a supply chain manager of an FMCG brand plan their supply chain? Like, what is the mantra to keep the inventory levels optimized?
Okay, I think, of course, the world in last 2 years has gone through a significant upsurge, which no one had ever imagined, and especially, I think, in a positive sense, this has also bring the supply chain to the forefront, and there has been a much enhanced focus on terms of the value that the whole supply chain brings to the table. So, having said that, I think we continue to see a huge amount of volatility, and it also opens up the fundamental question on the risk management. In the past, it was more about a trade-off between the cost and where you can get the supplies at the cheapest version, and your risk you would talk about, but no one had imagined that what could lead to the business. And I think today, as we look at this world, the whole space at which all of us has gone through has put this risk management into forefront. And for me, I think that eventually translates in terms of the inflation and all the volatility that we are seeing, because the more options that you're having, whether it is in terms of your sourcing options, whether in terms of your formulation options, or whether even in terms of your options for how you ship to your customers into very different ways. And I think that is helping us to of course manage the cost into a most optimal manner, and more importantly to be able to reach the consumers, because at the end of the day we all exist to be able to service the end needs of consumer, he or she, when she is requiring us to be into her household lives. And I think that's a mantra that we are working on, to have enough and more opportunities to be able to reach to the end consumers whenever they need us.
Mhm. But what are the strategies that can be deployed during a crisis like situation to ensure that your supply chain is, up and running all the time?
I would say I would perhaps go into three legs on this. The first and foremost in this, and what we have seen, is an utter clarity on communication. And you need to
Right.
have a very clear communication, both internal as well as to your external partners, because they are the ones who are leading this stuff in the ground, whether it's your incoming supplies or the service partners who are delivering the stuff to your end consumers on this. So for us, the clarity on communication and direction is the first and most important thing. The second piece is the resilience for the people. And I think what we have seen is that it's most important for people to understand what direction you are heading to have a clarity on what's the purpose that we are leading in and how we are able to meet the goals that we have done. And I think that's the second most important piece that comes into the pillar equally as goes to the communication. And third is the sheer direction, because what is equally important is, while you have a right communication, you have the right people, what they look forward is what are the results, what are we getting through this, and how do you continue to pivot on those directions. There are learnings which goes through, there are things which don't work out. As you work out, do you have enough options to pivot, and you clarify this direction to through again communication and to your people to make sure that they are utterly committed to what you're dealing with. And I think we have seen enough examples in our system. When we tied all this together, we could deliver some outstanding results to meet the consumer needs.
Hmm. Right, right. So, what kind of risks threaten a modern day FMCG supply chain?
Let's talk about risk. Of course, one is we talk about COVID. I think mitigating of multiple sourcing, and we can talk enough and more on this. So that fundamentally remains, that how do you have enough and more sources to do.
Right.
Uh, what we are seeing is now our supply chain is becoming much more integrated with data and analytics. So the
Hmm.
other thing which is very very critical for us, and this is part of a leadership team view, and how do we strengthen the whole cyber security as part of the organization. At the same time, we also enhance and augment our capabilities to harness data and put an analytics version to it. And I think that's while again this has been something on the backbone. Okay, you have a connectivity, it moves on. But I think today with teams working into hybrid manner, you have exposure to multiple apps coming to your website. How do you ensure that has been utterly taken care of so that your systems are up and running every time? And third and foremost, having said that, everything goes with people. One of the things that we have also seen across the world is there has been a sheer enhanced need for the right talent, especially the people who can start harnessing the data to convert into digital insights.
Hmm.
How do we keep these people motivated? How do we keep them engaged so that they are able to understand the larger picture and connect to the organization processes as we go? So I think for us, this has been the three critical pivots on mitigating the risk on this. And that is, and I think we if I look my personal reflection, I think the team really worked together on those dimensions, which in spite of when no one was there physically at offices, and a lot of work has to be done remotely, I think we could let the supply chain up and going and running with the commitment of people and the availability of the right infrastructure.
Right. And how, I mean, on that, because Colgate Palmolive is something that, it's a brand that caters to a lot of people with, I think, thousands of SKUs, and that too through multiple channels. So, what goes into the effective management of omni-channel logistics in the FMCG industry?
Yeah, I mean, very interesting point, Rachita, you brought in, because I think as the work is, as the whole space is now evolving, the traditional way that you go to your kirana shop and you get your toothpaste is something that is definitely not the only channel in which you would like to service that customer. Having said that, of course, that channel remains a very, very integral part of our supply chain. So the question is this, that we are now seeing three broad or fragments in which that people are approaching us. One, a direct e-commerce. Then you
Hmm.
have the whole digitization of the kirana, and you see those multiple nodes coming in. And third is, of course, the evolution of the modern trade. Now, while these things come in, they are also coming in with a different kind of an expectation. The need to have a very tighter controls of inventory, even for a kirana shop owner, and even for our distributor partners, everyone is looking for how they can work into much thinner inventory as we go around. And that's where the technology plays a very important role. We have apps which is now digitally going and connecting, and also for our salesman on the ground. They're recommending the right assortment, which is the most relevant one for that particular shopkeeper in that particular vicinity. I think, and because the whole purpose is this, how do we keep that channel profitable? We keep them with the right mix of SKUs that we offer to them. Coming to direct trade and e-com, I think there are the expectations slightly move into a different direction because you need much more variety, you need much more customization, plus you also see that the surge that happens during the festive periods. So how do you ensure that your supply chain is resilient and agile enough to be able to cater to those needs which are coming in for that particular period? And then you have the right size of inventory, which also caters to the right freshness on the mix. So I think, and that is where as we are looking for this omni-channel piece, the fundamental is that you get more and more insights through different data and digital pieces, and that goes for irrespective whether you're servicing the traditional channel or you're serving the new channels. And at the same time, you continue to have a much deeper engagement with your retail partners. So our team goes out and have a very detailed business planning with some of the key retail environments to understand that what kind of an events they're looking for, what is the most important thing which a consumer is searching for, so that we can service her need and design our products accordingly for that period. And I think that is helping us to cater to different requirements.
Of course, I think communication is really the key here when you're trying to manage omni-channel, especially when you're selling offline in Kirana stores. And FMCG, as you said, flows through online as well as offline stores. And in present times, um, ONDC is gaining a lot of traction there. It's an initiative by the government of India, so it's trustworthy, and it has the aim to democratize e-commerce in India. So with the pilot being launched in 5 cities already, how do you think the ONDC is changing the way an FMCG supply chain works?
Uh, this is a space I think we all need a lot more learning. First and foremost, I think this is a very good initiative, I would say, coming in from the government to look to provide an alternate channel to reach to the consumers, because eventually all of us exist to be able to service that need into the most efficient and the most reliable manner. So I think and also coming in with a more trusted and I think tried and tested technology muscle, which the government has demonstrated through UPI. I think that's a benefit, because that gives the you that foundation that this is a technology which is resilient enough. Now the question on the table is, I think there are pieces that will still evolve, because the whole technology works into multiple stacks. What kind of a warehousing stack that it is there, what kind of a logistics stack, and how that is going to connect with the payment stack, and then how this is going to also connect with the reliability, which today in your regular established channels you get through an insurance claim. So I think those are spaces that we are trying to also understand as we engage with the different agencies, that how do we ensure that the trust is there. Having said that, of course, these are important pieces of a pilot, and there would be learnings that we will get through from different experiments, and it will be a part of pivot. We are committed to it, and we are engaging with the right partners who can service this need.
Right. So, what would you say is the USP of have it all an efficient supply chain, and something that kind of binds it together or holds it
I,
together?
I think the USP is simply of, while this might sound cliche, but it's all about people. At the end of the day, the people are the one who needs to understand that what is my consumer requiring, and then translate into what kind of a products and things that we will need to design and then produce and then market and then to be able to provide to that consumer. So that's the first thing. And at the same time, I think as the world is evolving, what we need to also see is we keep our people most abreast to the changes in technology. What we are seeing is a huge change from the traditional model of just you get an order and you replenish it. Today, what we are getting into is a much more deeper space where our we are working with our distributor partners in which we can sense the kind of a demand that they are going to have in coming days, which also goes in terms of right sizing the inventory that they are having. And the most critical piece is for our people to understand how these algorithms are working. And we are really investing a lot of space and time for our people to be into that space, because sometimes some of these things are alien, or sometimes they are not able to connect back from the technology is there. Okay, I get the technology, but how do I translate to the end consumer need, and how do I give them the most efficient solution to it? So that is where I think we are investing the most amount of time to upgrade, enhance, and also continue to provide learning and connections to our team, to marry the technology with the end consumer need. And that is what I would say binds our whole supply chain to work pretty efficiently.
Right, right. So you were talking about technology, and with that, it just crossed my mind that you, as a supply chain expert, as somebody who's leading the logistics for a very big brand, you come across a lot of things that you can use to make your supply chain, your logistics processes better. So how, what kind of what are the latest technology offerings that would smoothen the inventory management for a general supply chain as well as an FMCG supply chain?
So I think there are, as we look at the tech stack today, what is evolving is, of course, the external space. What we are starting off is right from the consumer at the end of the funnel, that how do we service his or her need. And then the question is this: how do we even make the whole order to cash cycle much more efficient and much more smooth for a consumer? So it starts right from the point that how do we connect for all our distributor partners and end-to-end seamless connections, so that we are providing them the right assortment mix recommended, which they can opt and choose, and then order flow comes in seamlessly to our end warehouses, who then translates up in terms of picking it with the right automation tools inside our plants. And then also in the back end, it starts giving those kind of a demand signals to our manufacturing side, that how the offtake is moving. We are moving away from the traditional cycle of a very longer term, 2 to 3 months kind of a fixed demand horizon, less than a month demand or production planning horizon, because what we are seeing is that the demands continue to evolve much more faster. And I think that's the place about technology, where the technology is really giving us kind of a almost, if not hourly, I would say, but at least an everyday alert on what are we missing out across the network. India being a vast country with multiple depots, how do you ensure that everything is getting pushed into the right control towers, and those demand signals are then translating into production plan? And now we are connecting this whole thing with an end-to-end tech stack, so that the our procurement process is clearly understanding what our end consumer is requiring, and they can up and lower the demand or cycle
Right,
as it
right. So it all comes back to eventually, if communication, clear, seamless, smooth communication.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
So I'll move on to sustainability now. So I'll talk about Colgate Palmolive in particular. What are the sustainability goals of Colgate Palmolive, and what measures do you take at CP?
So sustainability, I mean, great. This is again one of the most critical piece that we talk about today, and I don't think any supply chain can exist in a sustainable manner without having a clear view.
Hmm.
First and foremost, we released our first ESG report, and that's in public domain. So I think at some point in time, the users get a chance. I think I would encourage them to also look at that report. But in a very broad sense, I would first like to talk through the framework. So for us, the sustainability is divided into a broad framework on SMILE. And what does it stand for? The SMILE stands for, the first is what kind of a social impact we make. How do we
Okay.
touch and harness to and provide the best benefit to help millions of home to have the right quality of products that we can offer to them, and rather the best quality that we do. And the third is also how do we preserve our environment. So, and we are committed to all of this thing. And let me walk you through in terms of all the three dimensions. So starting with social impact, what does it mean? Is we want to make sure, and this is what we are living it, that every end of our supply chain, whether it's directly in CP control or whether it's third party logistics, we are providing the right work environment. All our third party warehouses are CDEX and SRSA audited, and we ensure that the labor practices, the right wages are being provided, and they are being audited by a third party site. So we want to make sure that everyone is coming in a very safe and a workplace which they all aspire for. And then it also goes about diversity and inclusiveness, and we are looking at and we are positively making a difference to have, of course, gender diversity. Also, we have getting into a right spots in which we are able to harness the power of differently able persons in our supply chain, whether it's in manufacturing or in our warehousing operation. And I think that's our commitment, that how do we continue to provide that kind of a positive social impact to the society. Coming to the other piece, which is helping millions of home, our first commitment is that we need to provide the best quality to our consumers, and they should be able to trust us and rely on the quality that we deliver end to end. And that's one thing that we are utterly committed for, to make sure that we are there. At the same time, now coming to preserving our environment, there are goals. So first and foremost, I think as an organization in India and globally, we are committed to make sure by 2025, 100% of our product packaging is either recyclable or combustible. Colgate launched one of the world's first recyclable tube, which was made on, and then they open sourced that technology. So we have given an open opportunity to any producer and even to our competitors that you can take our technology, because we are committed for the right business environment and right environment practices. So you can take a tube which is 100% recyclable, and that was a big breakthrough that we could achieve with significant effort. The other thing is that as globally we have committed that we are 2040 is by when we want to be carbon neutral, and that's a goal that we are working on. A lot of our plants have now got an in-house solar. We have got in couple of our manufacture in our warehousing as we speak the rooftop solars, and some of them we are already energy positive. And same thing that we are, and the thing which we are committed is water. As an organization, we are very committed to water conservation, not just in our plants but also in the society. And in fact, I can talk from my own personal experience. I visited a village which was, I would say, perhaps an hour drive away from Udaipur. It's one of the you can say the area where the per capita earning is one of the lowest in the country. But what we have done is with our NGO partners, we have been able to harness the power of water conservation. There are these check dams which have got deteriorated, and the water, while it comes in the rainy season, but it just flows through. But what it has done is the impact that it has made through is that water is getting collected, and now this is practically available between 8 to 10 months for the things, which has in turn led to a virtuous cycle, because they are able to do flower cultivation. They are able to even grow vegetables, which was not even possible in that geography. It's a very dry and less water area. I think that's the kind of impact we want to make sure that we are able to reach to the segment which really deserves it, and we end up saving every drop of water, that because every drop counts in this atmosphere. So that's the kind of a goal that we are looking for, and we are utterly committed to make sure we achieve this.
Right. That's actually very amazing. So we near the end, and I'll give you my last question. What is your outlook for the logistics and supply chain industry in 2023?
Good question. I hope I would have a crystal ball to answer this because this is something which is becoming a big unknown, and I think every day we hear a different news. I think First and foremost, the scenario is going to continue to be volatile, and we are hearing enough news from China how this will translate to in the global supply chain, and time will tell. So first and foremost, I think as a supply chain professional, the key thing would be we need to be very close to business and our end
Right.
consumers to understand that we address that volatility. And I think the good news is that the teams have done a tremendous job in learning how they can evolve, and the more learnings will continue. So first and foremost, praise the volatility in the equation. The second thing which will equally become important would be, and I would again highlight, I talked about this in the cyber security. I think the digital and cyber security piece is going to become all the more relevant. And look at it, there is going to be the whole 5G revolution is coming our way. So the question that we need to have is that how do we start harnessing the power of the whole digital connectivity we have, and at the same time we have the right security solutions to get there. So for me, that would be the second important piece which would be critical. uh, how do we understand the power of technology, and how do we embrace the digital piece on this? And third but not the least is people. I think as a people manager, I take this with utter humility, uh, on the expectation that each of our people are going to have on us, on what will help them to grow, what will help them to understand stuff better. And I think the third thing which will be critical is we continue to provide them the right learning platform. And the same time, we also provide them a more empowered space where they can speak up and they can continue to bring in more ideas, because
Hmm.
it is the culmination of these ideas which will harness our supply chain, and which will make us bigger. So that would be my 3 point of view on what we have. And hopefully, I think we should be looking forward for a much more joyous new year. And I would certainly like to take this opportunity to wish a very happy new year to all your audience in
Thank
advance.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We wish you a happy new year as well. And well, that brings us to an end of a very insightful and engaging session where we touched upon many important aspects of the FMCG supply chain. And I think in today's fast paced modern world, how an FMCG supply chain is managed across all the nodes does say a lot about a particular organization. It was an honor for us to speak to you, Ashish, and get a closer look at overall picture of the supply chain of one of the most iconic brands in India. Thank you so much for taking out time, and look forward to connecting with you again. Also, a very big thank you to Cargo FL for powering today's session, and also to our audience for their lovely presence. Thank you,
Thank
Ashish.
you, and thank you again for having me and all the sponsors and everyone on the call.
That this is me, Rachayata, on behalf of Logistics Insider, signing off. Take care. Bye bye.